Hello everyone, this is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Marc tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Super Mario World, a little game you probably haven't heard of where you play as a short, stocky fellow with a mustache who really likes to jump around. You could call him Jumpman if you want, but that would be ridiculous. Jokes aside, Super Mario World is one of many 2D Mario platformers, the first one to come out for Super Nintendo, originally coming out on August 13th, 1991 in the States, alongside the launch of the Super Nintendo, and it is often called one of the best games of all time, if not the best. Well, I don't think it's the best game of all time. I wouldn't even put it in my top 10, not even my top 100. I wouldn't put it on any numbered list of my quote-unquote greatest games of all time. That's because I hate it. And I don't hate it because it's bad. It's not bad. It's perfectly fine. I hate it because I don't think I've ever felt so disconnected from a fandom before, and I just don't know how to process that. I feel like I've been dropped in the middle of a jungle with no supplies and no compass, and I desperately want and need to get out, but I don't know if I can. Okay, that's a bit dramatic, but I genuinely disliked the entirety of my experience with Super Mario World. Every now and again, I'd come across a level I thought was alright, but never once did I love a level, and never once did I smile while playing the game. Also, I should note that I was playing it on my Super NT off an official cartridge I bought with nothing but mountains of excitement, so I wasn't using save states or anything like that. It was a true Super Mario World experience, full of many deaths and game overs, though you're probably saying, well, actually, a true experience wouldn't be full of many deaths and game overs because the game isn't that hard. And maybe it isn't, or maybe it is. I don't know what the consensus is difficulty-wise when it comes to World, but the reason why I struggled and the reason why I don't like Super Mario World is because I hate the way it feels. I hate how slow Mario's regular walk is. It's so slow and useless that I don't know why you'd ever walk anywhere except when you need to make slight adjustments on a single block or in other such similar situations. But what I really hate is how slippery Mario feels, specifically when you're coming back down from a jump. When you're on the ground prior to jumping, Mario feels fine most of the time, but so often after making a jump, I found myself slipping off an edge, and I grew more and more frustrated the more and more I played. And I'm sure you're saying, well, you just have to get used to the specific way Mario feels in World and then it'll click. That may be true for most, but I put 5 hours into the game completing it. I, of course, didn't find every exit because I wanted to get out of the game as quickly as possible, and at no point did I get used to or enjoy Mario's feel. If I didn't feel a strong obligation to finish World to remove it from my backlog, I would have quit many times prior to reaching the end, and it's all because I just don't like the way Mario feels. But that's not my only issue with World. I think some of the level design isn't that great, and I prefer the tighter, more linear levels of Super Mario Bros. 3, which I revisited after starting World to see if it felt different or if I just didn't like Mario anymore. Well, Super Mario Bros. 3 is still great in my book and feels great, so at least I'm not always wrong, right? And my preference for the more linear levels of 3 could just be that I felt no incentive to explore the larger levels of World since I didn't like playing the game. But regardless of feel, there were a few times when I'd play through a level and think, who thought this would be fun? But they're not all bad. I did enjoy the levels that use snake blocks and other objects that move on their own where you have to stay on them while avoiding enemies, obstacles, and the like. If the game was nothing but those levels, I probably would have had a good time, but it isn't, so I didn't. All that that said, I'm not entirely negative when it comes to World. There are things I like about the game. Visually, it's amazing, and I never got tired of looking at it and appreciating its beauty, though I do hate Monty moles. I think they look stupid and feel incredibly out of place in World. There is occasional slowdown, which was disappointing, but I don't think it ever happened during problematic situations leading to death or anything like that. Of course, the music is great as well, but as good as certain parts of World are, none of it mattered because I never enjoyed Mario's jump, and in a game where jumping is the primary mechanic, that's kind of a problem. Now, I know a lot of people will hate me for my opinion and think I'm all kinds of wrong, but remember that my opinion doesn't take away from your love of Super Mario World. It just means we're different and there's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with my opinion. It's just an opinion after all. Anyway, that will do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am your host, Marc. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PXSausage. The site is, of course, pixelatedsausage.com, where you can find this podcast and the Pixelated Sausage podcast, both of which are available on podcast services across the globe, like Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Pandora. If you'd like to check out the video version of this here show, you can go over to youtube.com/pixelatedsausage and watch it there. If you'd like to check out the art I make, you can go over to pxsart.com. If you see something you like, click the link and it'll take you to where you can purchase a print of the piece you fancy. And if you fancy the site in general and anything that we do, please go over to patreon.com/pxs and support us that away. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.